G'day ladies and germs, Conor here from ZHIYUN Media, back with another video, and today we're having a bit of a look-see at the ZHIYUN WEEBILL 3S. Now, first, full disclosure, was sent to me to review and do a video on, and just got to disclose that from the start. So I do get to keep this, but it will not affect my opinion because I will give you some hard truths about this. Now, I do want to say I've previously had gimbals, and as a solo creator, solo filmmaker, I don't often get to use them properly because I'm filming myself. So it's a bit hard to walk around with a gimbal like this and filming myself doing talking head videos like this. So normally I'm on a tripod, or if I'm vlogging, it's just holding the camera maybe on a tiny little tripod, not actually on a big gimbal. You can pick up this, the combo, which includes the sling arm and the wrist rest. Comes in at about 850 Aussie dollars. Now I will link to it down below and everywhere that I can, so you can give me affiliate link hookups and cash me up. And I think it took me about 5 minutes to balance it. That's from getting it out of the box and just going through the normal balancing steps for a gimbal. Now, it takes about 2 minutes for me to balance it now that I've been using it for about a week. Now, I did use about 10 different gimbal shots to make a sequence. I went out and did some filming the other day, and these 10 shots gave me enough footage to be able to put together a nice montage or a nice little video sequence. So we can have a look at that in its full entirety in a minute, and then also how this gimbal made it all quite easy and quite simple. My setup on this gimbal was the Canon R6 Mark II and the new 35mm L series prime lens that they've released as well. So that was the main setup that I was using here. I did also use the RF 50mm lens, just a little cheap one there from Canon, but I did also balance on this the Canon R6 Mark II and the 24-70 f2.8. And all that on this gimbal was just enough. It can take a pretty hefty payload because that is not a light setup. Now, I did about 2 or 3 days of filming with this. I didn't have to have any concern about battery life. You get 11 hours of use out of it. USB Type-C charging, you can charge from a power bank or any power outlet from your wall. They do say that it charges completely in 2 hours, so can't really complain about that. Now, it does also have a fill light on the gimbal, but I didn't actually use it. I think it's a little bit small for me, but it is nice to have if you have nothing else. But it's not a bad fill light. I mean, it gives off about 1000 lux in brightness, so that's pretty bright, and it's going to be able to illuminate a subject that is pretty close to the camera. I did use the app sometimes, but generally when I'm running and gunning, I do have the gimbal in my hand, which has all the controls on it. Now, it does say on their website that it supports the Canon R6. It does not say the R6 Mark II, but the USB-C cable from the gimbal to the camera still worked, and I still got the full control as you would with the R6. So I can say, for me, the R6 Mark II is also compatible with the WEEBILL 3S. And I did like how you could just plug in that cable and then I could use this record button. I could also use the flywheel on the front of the gimbal to adjust my aperture or ISO, however I wanted to program it. It's been designed nicely and I appreciate that. Now, for all of this shoot and some other shoots that I did during the week, I did use the sling arm and I did also use the wrist rest. Difficult to say that, wrist rest. But I found them both useful. I did use it more often than not, and I found it gave me a little bit more stability because that big camera setup on the gimbal can get a little bit tiresome, so I did appreciate having that extra handle. Now, it also made it a bit more stable when I was doing some low down shots as well, some tracking shots along the ground, some follow shots, and going from a low down follow shot up to like a jib shot was actually a lot easier with that sling arm. Now here is the 10 shots. Now the first one is a traditional follow shot where you're just walking behind someone who's walking. Now for this I was using pan follow. Then the second shot was the reverse follow shot where I'm walking backwards and my subject is walking towards me. Now another version of the follow shot is the walk-in follow shot where the camera operator is walking backwards and the subject walks into the shot from the side and then continues to track with the camera. Now coming into the next shot, I was doing the side walk, so walking sideways along someone, getting a side profile of them. And it's important for this one that you're actually walking forwards and holding the gimbal and the camera facing sideways, so you get a better motion and less up and down motion from your walking. So you're walking like a ninja forwards instead of like a crab sideways. Now I did try and incorporate here to get some flowers in the subject, a bit of distance between me and the model, and that way it gave it a bit more depth to the image. Now another breakaway from the traditional follow shot is what's called a reverse jib follow shot. So I'd be walking behind my subject with the camera down low, and then I would jib the camera and the gimbal up to reveal the person as they're walking and their surroundings in front of them. So it's a bit of a play on the traditional follow shot. I do like it, and that is how it was achieved with the Weebill 3S. Now I did also do the traditional orbit shot. For this I did change to the 50mm lens. Now it is hard to get a full circle doing the orbit shot where you're not getting some uneven footage. Also tilted the lens up a little bit just to give it a different perspective than the usual sort of head high orbiting shots. Now my next shot was the chest transition shot. Now this is when I walk towards my subject as they are walking towards me, and I have the camera at about stomach height. And I walk towards them nice and slowly, nice and stable, and then stop just as the camera touches their clothing. Then I walk around to the back of the subject, put the camera on their back, press record. They start walking away as I start walking backwards, and it looks like the camera has actually gone through the person and turned around as they're walking. I like how it comes across after the edit. I think it looks really, really smooth. Definitely one to try and incorporate into all your shoots when using a gimbal. Now I do another one, and this is a bit of a hybrid one. Sometimes you can do a bit of a fake drone shot reveal with this one. Hold the camera over someone's shoulder, but they're pretending they're looking at Google Maps, trying to find a location, and then I pull the gimbal backwards and upwards away from the subject, and they come out of focus. And then when I'm editing this in DaVinci, I reverse the shot so the camera comes down and into focus of the person using their phone. And I think it comes across nicely, especially if you slow it down a little bit as well. So make sure you're filming in 50 or 60 frames per second, and you get a really nice, different looking shot. Now, the fake drone shot would be the opposite. I didn't actually do it on this shoot, but it's where you just hold the camera level and then slowly walk backwards and away and lift the camera right up high. And it does actually resemble a bit of a drone shot, but when you pull it off, it looks amazing. Now, number 7 is the soft focus reveal. Put the camera in manual focus, focus it on my subject, press record. I'm filming in 50 frames per second, and then I pull the camera back slowly, and it's nice and stable because it's on the Weebill 3S. When I'm editing, I go into DaVinci Resolve, I slow it down, and I reverse the footage. So it looks like the camera is sneaking up into the person's zone, and they're revealing them because they're out of focus, and then all of a sudden they're in focus. Now the next one is a bit of a tricky one to pull off, and it's a wipe transition behind a tree or a pole. So you get your subject walking behind something that's of good size, like a big tree or a big pole, and you're nice and up close to them. Then for the next shot, they go a long way away from that tree or pole, and then your subject has those contrasting positions which are actually catching to the eye and very noticeable. Now this last shot is one that I use all the time to try and introduce my character to an environment. And it is 2 moves in one, maybe even 3 moves in one, but when you pull it off, it can look really, really cool. And how we do it is, we start off side tracking, but not just side tracking, tracking along their feet. So you're following someone into an environment, side view, down low. Then as they get up to their location, you turn around, step backwards across the frame, and then pull the camera back and it reveals the location that they're in. So have a look at how it turns out on this shot. I think it looks awesome, and you can really see that it reveals the environment the person has just walked into. So one of my favorite shots. So I'm going to try and incorporate it into as much work as I can because of its size, because of its weight, and also because of the results that I'm getting. So thank you, Weebill 3S. Thank you to Poppy for being the model for the day. You've done an amazing job. I really appreciate your time. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Ciao, ciao.